Welcome back to another episode of the How to Film Skiing Masterclass. In this episode, we're gonna dive into everything about filming a documentary. We're gonna break out of these four walls, we're gonna hit the slopes, and we're gonna go film a documentary. You're gonna see beginning to end what it's like out on the snow. Let's dive in. Before we hit the slopes, I'm gonna set the stage a little bit. This is a documentary called Unseen Peaks. It's about a woman named Addie who, after enduring trauma due to her blindness, is trying to overcome that experience by trying to find freedom in the outdoors. It's a heartwarming story about accessibility and inclusion in the outdoor winter sports arena. I actually filmed this documentary a year ago. It's gone on a film festival tour, did pretty well, got some buzz, but the reality of it is that you will be watching footage of me last year and you will be able to tell because I do not have a mustache and I have shorter hair. So, as you go and watch this whole experience, understand that this is a process of just figuring it out as you go. So now that you have the knowledge of what the story is about, let's dive into how this project actually got made. The story of how I made Unseen Peaks actually began at Eldora Ski Resort, which is my local ski resort here in Boulder, Colorado. I'd been volunteering, making films about some of the athletes for Ignite Adaptive Sports, an amazing nonprofit helping people with disabilities get into winter sports. I would highly recommend checking them out. But because of some of the volunteer work that I'd done with them, I got connected to Addie and was really inspired by her story. I reached out to her and see if she was interested in being a subject of a documentary, and she said yes. So we hit the ground running and started planning and creating this documentary.
I'm so excited.
As I began creating this project, it became pretty obvious that I needed to do something. I needed to learn how to ski without seeing. I've been skiing and snowboarding my whole life, and I found that it was actually pretty difficult for me to empathize with Addie's experience as a beginner skier unable to see. So I asked some of the visually impaired guides to help me out and take me skiing for a day with blacked out goggles so I couldn't see anything. And the experience was insane. This experience guided my entire approach to the rest of the documentary. I feel like I was able to put myself in Addie's shoes just a little bit more. I don't know what it's like to be blind. I don't know what it's like to learn how to ski while blind. But I feel like by doing these sorts of things and by challenging myself as a filmmaker to be more empathetic with the people I'm filming, allowed me a little bit deeper connection to this film and allowed me to tell this story in a way that maybe is a little bit more true to Addie's experience.
Man, I just feel like so unstable. Like my balance is so off. I had a really hard time balancing. I felt like kind of seasick. As a filmmaker, I think it's important to take these steps and understand what you need to do to empathize with your subject.
You're like, because I remember when we first talked, you're like, yeah, someday my goal is just to ski the mountain on my own. Yeah. And then you're like, and then I want to do a blue. And then you're now like crushing blues, doing blacks. When I film documentaries, I like to film B-roll first, film an interview, and then end by filming B-roll. By sort of sandwiching the interview this way, it allows the subject to feel a little bit more comfortable on camera before probing deep into their personal life and their history. And you can tell when people aren't comfortable in an interview. And I will say, filming Addie the first time, it was the first day that I had met Addie. And it was pretty tricky interviewing somebody who I'd never met before. When I was interviewing Addie, I really tried to be empathetic by building trust and by showing her that I cared about her and I want to listen to what she has to say. Interviewing is sort of an art, and there's a lot of things that you can do to help your subject open up by asking open-ended questions, for example, or really pausing and letting them talk through things. So by staying silent yourself, it maybe allows the subject to fill that silence with some thoughts of their own. But at the end of the day, filmmaking, and especially filming interviews, is about caring for somebody and about asking them questions about themselves that you want to hear the answers to. There's so much that can go into interviewing, but we'll keep it brief for now and let Addie talk for a second.
I dream of a world where anyone who wants to climb can climb, and anyone who wants to take up space in any other way in the outdoors has the safety and freedom to do so.
Remember, the most profound responses come from a genuine connection between you and your subject. It's a tricky balance trying to be an inquisitive filmmaker, asking questions and maybe drilling them about a specific topic or event that happened, but also being a compassionate human being and knowing that these are people and these are real stories and real emotions that they're experiencing. And so putting yourself in their shoes and asking, how would I feel if I was in front of the camera? By doing this, you can maybe build a stronger bond and get more genuine reactions in their interview.
Filming Unseen Peaks took me through a lot of the breathtaking landscapes of the Rocky Mountains and capturing the essence of Addie's connection with nature. The filming encompassed various aspects of her outdoor life, whether it's skiing, ice climbing, and rock climbing, and each activity sort of presented its own set of challenges and required a different approach to filming. Pulling together a team around me of people that knew how to do things that I didn't know how to do, I think we were really able to capture Addie and capture these experiences in their most authentic form. The ice climbing day, and I know this is a How to Film Skiing Masterclass, but I think you can actually learn a lot from what happened on that ice climbing day. That ice climbing day was sort of the perfect filming day for documentaries, and here's why. The story of Addie is about her overcoming her trauma due to blindness and finding acceptance in the outdoor industry. She's told me on numerous occasions that she just wants to be seen as a climber. She just wants to be seen as a friend who people can go climbing with. And on that ice climbing day, it genuinely felt like that. It felt like we were a group of friends going out and going ice climbing, which I think allowed her a sort of peace and excitement around the experience, more so than just doing something for a camera. To translate that over to skiing, if someone's goal is to feel comfortable on the slopes and you can go out and film them on a certain day and they can experience that for themselves, those emotions and those reactions, you can't script, you can't write that. That's the beauty of documentaries. People actually have to go through these human experiences for the film to be interesting. And of course, challenges may come our way, but I think the gold standard for documentary filmmaking, especially in the ski industry, is having them experience something for themselves and you get to capture those raw emotions. But even with all that, filming Unseen Peaks definitely came with its complexity and its challenges. We encountered very unpredictable weather. We were anticipating having one day filming skiing in the snow and one day filming in the sun, similar to a documentary that I did last year about a different adaptive sports athlete who's paralyzed and he's helping teach other people with disabilities how to ski. We filmed one day in the sun and one day in the snow, which led to a lot of variety in the footage. However, we weren't so lucky with the days that we were scheduled to film for Unseen Peaks because both days ended up being sunny, despite what the weather had to say. However, we adapted to it and we made the best of the situation. And although weather was maybe a minor inconvenience, I think the most important complexity that happened was when talking to Addie on the drive home from skiing one day, she told me she's newer to skiing and she really just wants to be seen as a climber. And that was when the documentary sort of began to take a turn. We thought we were creating a ski film, and I was excited about that. Another ski film, the last one I'd made did great. It went on outside, it had a very successful run at film festivals. I was excited to sort of repeat that process and learn and do it better. But she told me she really doesn't see herself as a skier and she wants to be accepted into the climbing community. So we sort of pivoted and started to share her story and what mattered to her. This adaptability led to a more authentic form of storytelling. It was a story that Addie actually experiences and something that she actually believes in. And although it maybe added 4 or 5 more days onto this already 3 or 4 day shoot, I think it led to a project that was actually, in the end, a lot better, because documentaries can have a transformative effect on how we see the world. And for me, when I go into life or a documentary with a certain plan, I want that plan to stay in place. But when you're open to things changing and you're open to life adapting and moving into different ways, this was a lesson for me to be open to those experiences and allow myself to push myself in new ways. And I think when it comes to the ethical filmmaking questions around this, I think I can go into a project believing one story deserves to be told, when in reality, it's actually a different type of story that deserves to be told. And when working with Addie, I am not a female blind ice climber, and I don't know what that feels like for her. In creating this documentary, I think there's an important collaborative process that needs to happen between you and your subjects. By working closely with your subject and asking them how they want to be represented, or even just listening and inferring how they want to be represented, you can start to create a more ethical, I think, and more authentic experience for both you and the subject. I think as a filmmaker, you sort of owe it to your subjects to really listen and really share a story that is meaningful and memorable for them. I'm really proud of Unseen Peaks. And although there's a lot of things that I would love to do over, I would love to film skiing on a snowy day instead of a sunny day. I'd love to just have more time with Addie to maybe create more in-depth experiences of her as a climber. But I think at the end of it all, I'm really excited about it because it sort of shifts a traditional narrative that we see in the ski industry. I think A lot of the ski industry has been focused on doing the biggest lines and pushing the limits of the sport, which while I love to see it, I also think it's important to share stories of inclusion and accessibility in the outdoors as well. But the story's not over, because in the next episode, I'm gonna walk you through how I edited it. I'm gonna walk you through how I edited the film Unseen Peaks. No matter how you slice it, that's gonna be a funny phrase to say. Regardless, in the next episode, I'm gonna walk you through beginning to end some of the editing decisions that I've made. I truly believe documentaries get made in the editing room. The real storytelling and really crafting the narrative comes when you open your editing software and you start moving into editing that ski film. If you are interested in making ski films, go out and make a ski film. Take this experience today and before the next episode comes out to go out and practice for yourself. You can listen to me ramble all day, but the reality is that your true progress and your true experiences as a filmmaker and your true growth will happen when you're doing it for yourself. So take these lessons that I've learned, take some of my experiences, build upon them, and go make an even better ski film. Go make a more exciting adventure film. Until then, keep dreaming, get creative, go out and film some stuff. I love you, I'm proud of you. Have the best day ever.